We got to talk Jonathan Kuminga and the latest Warriors trade rumors on today's show, but I could not start without addressing this absolute nonsense from the folks over at the Heat Report here at Chat Sports. Yeah, the host of the Heat Report, Nick Roloff, said that we couldn't get 500 likes on this edition of Warriors Today by Chat Sports. So let's prove him wrong. Prove my college enemy wrong, Nick Roloff, and go down below and like today's video. Let's get 500 and prove him wrong right now. What's going on, Dub Nation? You're watching the Warriors Today by Chat Sports. I am your host, Tyler Smith. And on today's show, we have a new update surrounding Jonathan Kuminga's impending free agency. He's going to enter restricted free agency reportedly this summer. And we're going to go through the top 5 trade targets potentially. As we know, Golden State and JK might be exploring sign and trade options. But the latest coming from Jonathan Kuminga here is that he's in the gym like we see every single summer. Jonathan Kuminga working on his game, trying to, I guess, add something new to the 22-year-old's arsenal. Look, man, we see the same thing year after year with Kuminga. This time, though, he was actually working out with A.J. Dembinsta, the presumptive #1 overall pick in the 2026 NBA draft. He's going to be headed to BYU next year, and they both have Congolese connections, as they both have heritage back from the Congo. So it was cool to see those two work out. I bet you A.J. could show him a thing or two, as he looks very polished at just 17 years old. But Kuminga, on those Instagram posts, I guess his whole little photo dump of his gym workout, he turned off Instagram comments. And we also know previously that Kuminga did black out his Instagram profile, took down a bunch of different Warriors posts here and there. So he is definitely leaning into this free agency era that he's about to enter and kind of tuning out all the noise, as I'm sure there's going to be people talking in the comments section, as there always is with Jonathan Kuminga. Now, Bobby Marks also released this in a little bit of a free agency primer on ESPN. He said that Golden State is expected to extend the $7.9 million qualifying offer to Jonathan Kuminga. Now, what does that do? That puts Kuminga set for restricted free agency. So what that means is Golden State can obviously sign Kuminga to a bigger contract than anybody else, but another team can offer an offer sheet to him. They can send an offer sheet to him to sign him to a long-term deal, but Golden State will then have the right to match that deal and bring Kuminga back. Now, there aren't too many teams this year with cap space to make that happen, though. And the only team that was being rumored about offering Kuminga a big long-term offer sheet was the Brooklyn Nets. And we heard a report about last week that the Nets are not expected to extend a restricted free agent offer sheet to Jonathan Kuminga, where, something in excess of $20, $25, $30 million per season. There's no other team in the NBA outside of Brooklyn that can make that happen. So if Jonathan Kuminga wants to be on a new team, well, it's likely to have to come via sign and trade. And we've heard from The Athletic that both sides, Golden State and Kuminga, are expected to explore sign and trade options this summer. Now, we've gotten some pushback reports that there might be an increasing likelihood that Kuminga comes back to Golden State. And the financial restrictions about, sending Kuminga out in a sign and trade are why that makes things complicated. Now, how do the people at the top of the Warriors brain trust view Jonathan Kuminga and his future? Well, we know Joe Lacob loves Kuminga. He had him sat next to him at courtside at the Golden State Valkyries game. He has long been influential in Kuminga's positioning in this roster, him being drafted and him being held out of trade conversations. Now, on the complete flip side, Steve Kerr completely knows and thinks that Jonathan Kuminga does not fit in his roster and rotation next to Curry, Draymond, and Jimmy Butler. So he's probably looking more towards a new face in place of Jonathan Kuminga for next season. Now, Mike Dunleavy, the general manager, I feel like he's kind of indifferent, but we know that Dunleavy was the driving force in getting the Jimmy Butler trade done. So I'm praying that basketball-related decisions are being made by Dunleavy and not Joe Lacob, because I think if the owner has a little bit more of a hand in this decision-making, then it's more likely that Kuminga comes back. And we did hear from Monte Poole of NBC Sports Bay Area, he says it's very likely that the Warriors find a way to keep JK this summer. Now, he also says, though, that doesn't mean that he's long-term peace here in Golden State. He also could be moved later as early as next trade deadline. Now, the reports are from Kuminga's side of things that he is open to a Warriors return, that there is no kind of butting heads personally between he and Steve Kerr, and that Kuminga also still views himself as a potential all-star level player. He still thinks he can get up to that level of play. Me personally, I'm not so sure, but I definitely don't believe that it can happen with the Golden State Warriors, so it would be in the best interest of both sides to see a sign and trade through. Now, how would that go down? Well, the max salary that Kuminga can earn per year on this contract is $38.7 million. Now, if a team signs him to that deal, they would obviously take on 100% of the salary. They're paying the guy a new contract. Now, from the perspective of Golden State, they would only be sending out 50% of that new contract. So if Kuminga gets $25 million, Golden State would only be able to take back $12.5 million back in the deal unless they added other salaries to match it. Now, you obviously have to match salaries in trades in the NBA, and Kuminga can be aggregated with other contracts on Golden State's books. So what do you guys think happens with Jonathan Kuminga at this point? As what's today? June 9th? What happens with JK? Do the Warriors trade him or do they keep him? T for trade, K for keep. Let me know what you think down in the comments section. Now we're going to go through the top 5 Warriors trade targets as if Jonathan Kuminga were to be traded away this summer. Look, there are some big fish where Golden State could send away, 3-4 contracts, 3, 4, or 5 teams involved. I'm going to try to stick to some players today that Golden State can kind of accomplish a trade with either via 2 teams, just a 1-on-1 ordeal, or a 3-team trade. I'm not trying to make some crazy salary hoop jumping throughs to get this done and just bring you guys players that aren't all that realistic. Now, a name that is very realistic and has been talked about at length is Nikola Vucevic of the Chicago Bulls. At age 34, look, I would not be too happy if this was the primary piece brought back in a Kuminga sign and trade, but look, there are rumors about Chicago potentially being a landing spot, and Vooch is a deal that they're trying to move off of. He has a $20 million expiring salary. Golden State might have to include another contract sending back to Chicago to get this done, but look, Vooch could fit in pretty solid for Golden State. I just think he's such a defensive liability at this point, and I don't know if he actually moves the needle for Golden State winning the Western Conference. So let's go to my top 5 Jonathan Kuminga sign and trade targets, starting with Daniel Gafford over there with the Dallas Mavericks. Now, Dallas isn't really in a position to straight up trade for Kuminga 1-for-1, like bringing him in. So I don't anticipate like Jonathan Kuminga going to the Dallas Mavericks here. It probably would be a 3-team deal. But Daniel Gafford does make a good salary to make something happen to where, like, if Kuminga makes, $25-30 million on his next contract elsewhere, the Warriors can take back a salary of $14.4 million for next season. And he wants to be a starter long term. He's got Derek Lively breathing down his neck. I like Daniel Gafford a lot, but I'm not so sure that his best future is going to be with the Dallas Mavericks. I think he could slot right in to that Warriors starting center position. He's a great rebounder. He's just a walking double-double, can defend the rim as well, works great as a lob threat, roll and cut big man, and I just think he fits really, really solidly into the Golden State Warriors system here and could play a lot of minutes like I know that he wants to do. What about Malik Monk? I know, a name that we haven't really talked about too frequently, and this would be an interdivision trade, which you don't see all that often, but look, man, Malik Monk can fill it up. He can shoot the rock, and he can shoot it at a high clip. He makes about a modest $20 million for next season, and that's a workable salary to get a deal done. And honestly, Kuminga could be a destination for the Sacramento Kings here. Like, he's a young player. They don't really have too much direction going on right now after trading away De'Aaron Fox. And I think Malik Monk could be expendable if they're bringing in a guy like Kuminga as well. I don't think he is the most efficient player. Clearly, he has shown that he has not been since his last season with the Los Angeles Lakers over 3 years ago. So look, I think for Golden State fans who are hesitant about bringing in a 6'3" volume scoring guard, you're right to have those reservations, but Golden State clearly showed in the postseason that they need a bucket getter, and I know Malik Monk can go out there and get buckets. What about Coby White, though? And you could either flip these two back and forth. I would say some people think Malik Monk's a better player than Coby White at this point. But at 25 years old and in a solid deal, I like Coby White, man. He can create his own offensively, and albeit for a very bad Chicago Bulls team. But this is a 20-point-per-game scorer, and he is a bigger player at 6'5". I think can be a willing team defender in Golden State, and again, be that backup ball handler for Steph to where, like, you don't have to worry if he's on the bench, and he can go get his and go on a stretch where he scores 12 points in a quarter or something like that, because he's been a 20-point-per-game guy each of the last 2 seasons. This is the player who's gotten better basically every single year, shoots above league average from three-point range, can dish the ball out as well, makes great plays with the ball in his hands, and Golden State does not have enough players on the roster that can do that. Let's move to number 2 on the list. Jakob Poeltl, the big man over in Toronto. And this is a name I've brought up as a Warriors trade target in the past, and I was looking through Fanspo, was looking through, Jonathan Kuminga sign and trade ideas, and I saw on Twitter that a Raptors fan said, we should go after Kuminga. That'd be a player that would fit in nicely in Toronto if they were to miss out on a Kevin Durant or Giannis, who they are rumored to be interested in. And Jakob Poeltl could be the name coming back to Golden State in that scenario as well. He makes just under $20 million next season, and he's 7'1". Golden State fans would love to see a 7'1" player that is not Quentin Post, one that can actually defend a little bit in their lineup and starting for him. And Poeltl's a better player than Daniel Gafford, man. I think Golden State would be very lucky to get him in a deal back for Kuminga. He averages over a block a game. He's a walking 15-10 night in and night out. I think he would fit in seamlessly for Golden State. He has that push shot in his game, can work in the post as well. I'm in on Jakob Poeltl, being a member of the Golden State Warriors in a Jonathan Kuminga sign and trade. It makes sense for all sides. And it's one of those guys where, you don't have to worry about the future of your center position. Like, you just don't. And he's gonna fit in seamlessly. I could be persuaded to have him at my number one. We're gonna get to my number one in just a moment. But Jakob Poeltl would absolutely be a name that I'd be looking for if I'm the Golden State Warriors. All right, let's move on to number one now, and that goes to Cam Johnson. Yes, I know. It's a spoiler, not so spoiler. He's been my number one Warriors trade target for the longest time now, because I think he would just be the most seamless fit in Warriors history. As far as a movement shooter goes, he's about the best in the league. 6'8", can defend multiple positions, and is on the Warriors timeline as well. 29, 30-year-old guy. He makes $20 million next year. My only issue with trading for a guy like Cam Johnson would be that he doesn't exactly, fit the mold of, can he come back in this trade? Like, Brooklyn, if they want Jonathan Kuminga that bad, can just sign him outright. And their reports are coming out that they're not going to extend that deal to him. So it makes the Cam Johnson trade a little bit trickier. Now, we'll talk a little bit more about Cam Johnson and who I would actually trade Jonathan Kuminga for in just a moment. But make sure you guys get hooked up before these fly off the shelves. Steph Curry City jersey from the 24-25 NBA season at this link right here. Yeah, they are on sale, like a crazy sale right now. 50% off. So go get yours today. Chatsports.com/Curry City. That link will be in the comments and descriptions of today's video. Cam Johnson, man, 20-point per game score. And this is an efficient 20. Like, this is a guy who doesn't need the ball in his hands. Can work with the ball in his hands and has been asked to do that more often in Brooklyn. But overall, like, he, as far as just running around the perimeter goes, like, he's standing in the corner, like, he's got hot zones from all over Cam Johnson. I'm not joking. Like, you could go look at his shot chart. It's dark red all over the place. He's efficient from everywhere. So I think he'd be awesome as a versatile switching defender. Slide him right into the 3 or the 4 spot, and you're cooking with gas for next season. Cam Johnson is legit a player I think could take the Warriors over the hump. So who would you pick to trade for in a Jonathan Kuminga sign and trade? Out of these names, yeah, we could shoot bigger, aim bigger, but these are some names that I think are fairly realistic for Golden State to get back. If it's Daniel Gafford, type DG. If it's Malik Monk, type MM. If it's Coby White, type CW. If it's Jakob Poeltl, type JP. If it's Cam Johnson, type CJ in the comment section. Let me know who you guys think. I would go with one or of Jakob Poeltl or Cam Johnson, but that's just me. I think both those guys would fit in seamlessly. Let me know who you guys think, and make sure you are subscribed to the channel, because we're bringing you nonstop Warriors coverage all offseason long. Lock us in, hit that sub button. We'll see you in the next one, and as always, let's go Dubs.